Hello everyone, I'm Brazen Eagle, and let's talk about the Yellow Vest movement going on right now in France, and that's been going on for about the past 4 weeks or so. As an American, we don't always hear what's really going on in the world, especially with the American mainstream media, and this movement has really captured my interest and will have repercussions for the future. Apparently, it started on the streets when French President Macron, a former banker at a Rothschild bank, decided to implement a new fuel tax on the French people. Obviously, since we've seen the protests and whatnot, the people just can't pay anymore. Their cost of living is so high, they literally can't almost live anymore at this point. There's also been a lot of other economic and social problems that have been bubbling under the surface for years now, and this last tax just broke the people. So I found online a list that was presented on social media to President Macron that detailed around 40 or so different items to be demanded from the government. First, an immediate end to homelessness. Number 2, a more progressive tax system with more brackets. Number 3, a minimum salary raised to 1,300 euros after tax. Number 4, favor small businesses in villages and city centers. No more construction of large commercial zones around large cities that kill small businesses, kind of like Walmart or so. And free parking in city centers. 5th, an initiative for thermal insulation being ecologically friendly by reducing the heating houses needed. The next one is the big ones, also known as McDonald's, Google, Amazon, more stuff like that. They need to pay big, while the small ones, such as small businesses and artisans, pay small. The next one up is socializing and improving pensions. Another one is no more gas taxes. The follow-up is no pension under 1,200 euros. The next one is every elected representative shall have the median salary. Their travel expenses will be carefully watched and reimbursed if justified. They shall have the right to meal vouchers and paid vacations. Follow-up is adjust salaries, pensions, and benefits to compensate for inflation. The next one is protect French industry. Forbid outsourcing. To protect our industry is to protect our know-how and our jobs. The next one is no more detached jobs. It's not normal that someone who works in French territory does not benefit from the same salary and the same rights. Any person authorized to work in French territory must be equal to a French worker, and their employer must pay him the same as he would a French worker. Follow-up is secure jobs. Limit the amount of CCDs, which are work contracts that are over and must be renewed after a given time for large companies. We want more CDIs, which are contracts that don't have a set duration. The follow-up is something that we Americans may not really understand. It says end CICE, and there's a link on the screen. Utilize the money to create a French industry for hydrogen-powered cars, which are truly eco-friendly, unlike electric cars. The follow-up is an end to austerity. No payment on interests on debt that is declared illegitimate. Pay the debt not by taking money from the poor and the less poor, which probably means middle class, but by cracking down on the 80 billion in evaded tax. Follow-up is address the causes of forced migration. The next one is treat our asylum seekers well. We owe them housing, security, food, as well as education for minors. Work with the UN to open housing camps in the world where asylum seekers can wait the results of their petition. The follow-up is deport rejected asylum seekers back to their country of origin. The next one, a real policy of integration must be put in place. To live in France implies becoming French, which includes a language class, French history class, and civics class with a certificate to be earned at the end of the course, which I think sounds like a really good idea. Another one is minimum salary fixed at 15,000 euros. Next one, create jobs for the unemployed. Next one, increase disability benefits. Follow-up is rent controls. More moderate income housing, mainly for students and low-wage workers. Another follow-up is forbid the sale of goods belonging to France, such as airports. Next one is give adequate means, also known as funding and support, to the judiciary, the police, the gendarmerie, and the army. Make overtime fully paid or compensate them. The following is the entirety of the money made from toll booths must be spent in the upkeep of the highways and roads, as well as highway safety. Follow-up is, since the price of gas and electricity has only increased since they were privatized, we want them to become public and for prices to lower significantly. The next one is no more housing of petites légnes. Obviously, these are the train stations that are not beneficial enough and will be closed soon. That means people living in the countryside won't have trains anymore, or post offices, or schools, or maternity wards. So basically subsidize businesses or locations that aren't really necessarily turning a profit, but are still necessary for the people there who need them. The next demand is we must treat our elderly well. Forbid the exploitation of aged people. Gray gold, in quotations, is over. It's time for the age of, in quotations, gray well-being. Follow-up is no more than 25 students per class from elementary school to graduation. The follow-up is significant funding to mental health. Another one is introduce popular referendum to the Constitution. Create a website that's legible and efficient, cared for by an independent control organization where people can introduce their own proposals for laws. If their proposals gain more than 700,000 signatures, then it must be discussed, completed, and amended by the National Assembly, known as the French Congress, which will have the obligation of, in exactly a year, put it up for a vote by the entirety of the French people. Next one is a return to a 7-year mandate for the president. An election of deputies 2 years after the election of the president can send positive or negative feedback to the president concerning their policy. This will allow the people to let their voice be heard. They also want midterm elections. This one is set retirement age to 60 years for all physical labor jobs, such as construction and abattoir workers. They also want the right to retire at the age of 55. Another one is, as a 6-year-old cannot take care of themselves, continue the subsidies program that might be for children until they have at least 10 years of age. The next one is favorize the transport of freight by train, make it more economically friendly for the people to take trains instead of use cars, buses, other automobiles, and then have no withholding tax. Now, those 38 demands by the people, I would assume they actually have number 39 because they've already called for the resignation of President Emmanuel Macron. So basically it boils down to this: lower the taxes on the working class, increase the welfare benefits for French citizens, make the politicians listen to the people more, which would honestly be really great across the entire world, and protect and promote French interests and its people. Protesters are apparently made up of the working class across the entire political spectrum. You have left-wingers, right-wingers, and you know what, maybe even some central-wingers as well. However, they are united in fighting against the French government, but there is a lack of serious leadership. No one has claimed that, hey, this is my movement, but it's more like just a giant blob of people having demands. I have also heard that the immigrants from Africa and the Middle East take up a lot of the welfare money from the French government, which is also paid for by the working class and higher earners, which also pisses off the working class because they're not getting the benefits that they basically paid into, and they're paying other people off that are coming here legally and illegally. So, French President Macron, he needs to listen to the people and take the ideas of these demands to improve the French people's situation. But you know what? Make no mistake. He is a socialist. He has called himself a socialist before, and he believes that his people are there to do his bidding no matter what. He claims to be centrist, to unite the left-wing people and the right-wing people. But obviously, he has no idea what to do. Hid from the protesters and from the media until yesterday, 2 days ago or so. The protesters' demands, though, they won't all be fulfilled. Let's be real here. But there needs to be some give and take before this revolutionary movement grows larger. There have already been 4 deaths at the time of this recording, and at least 1,700 people have been arrested. And you know what Macron's response was? We need more police. He called for 89,000 more police officers to control the streets against the protesters. This is honestly probably going to be a turning point that will spark future revolutions in the coming future across all of Western civilization. There really are going to be more revolutions if you've taken a look at the economic and social issues across all of Western civilization. You can see it in Canada, especially Germany, Sweden, the UK. We are going and bound to have a revolutionary era within the next 10 years. The French are just the first people to have its revolt against globalism. Macron, he is a globalist. The elites of the countries and the world do not listen to the people. They don't identify with the common man, the common worker. That's the reason why Donald Trump was elected in 2016. He promoted and identified with the complaints of your average American voter. We need more people like Donald Trump to put their own people first before anyone else. In the United States, the people are there to keep the government in check. The government is supposed to work for the people, not the government making demands on the people, and they're acting like as if they're elites compared to your average voter. There are already riots in Belgium going on, and apparently the EU Parliament building was also stormed, but no one in the American mainstream media, regardless of source, has reported on that. And you know what? It's already spreading to other countries. It's spreading to the Netherlands, Germany. There was already a riot in Iraq, apparently. We all see the writing on the wall. The future of our civilization, not just like individual countries, but our civilization as a whole, it doesn't look good. And we have to understand how to prepare for the future and how to fix the countries with the mess that's already been created, which has been a mess for decades now, if not a century. Perhaps, and I'm thinking about this fairly seriously, we need an ordered citizens guard type of group to protect the interests of the people, because the people are getting shafted. I mean, perhaps an ordered citizens guard may be necessary for each country to protect the interests of its citizens. It's at this point, some governments, they really don't care about the people, and the people need to look after themselves. If the government won't protect the people must protect themselves and take action necessary to defend themselves. Well, with that in mind, I hope you understand more about the situation in France. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you later. Thank you very much for listening and watching my video.